Hello there. A warm welcome to another edition of TechTrends, your weekly journey into the world of tech, innovation, and creativity, all through an African lens. Coming up on the program this week, we sit down with one of Africa's leading voices in tech, Dr. Juliet Ehimuan, as she shares insights from the DICE 2025 Global Immersion and her vision for a digitally empowered Africa. Also, Nigeria hosts its first ever national cybersecurity conference, bringing together experts and stakeholders to set a course for a safer digital future. That and more coming up in the next 25 minutes. Do stay with us. This is Tech Trends, and I'm Olayemi Oshidende. Dr. Juliet Ehimuan is one of Africa's most respected voices in technology, innovation, and digital transformation. As the founder of Beyond Limits, convener of the DICE platform, a former director of Google West Africa, a board director, and an investor, she has spent years shaping the continent's digital landscape and empowering the next generation of tech leaders. She recently returned from Los Angeles, where she led the DICE 2025 Global Immersion, an initiative that took a group of innovators in Africa to global powerhouses like Microsoft, Amazon, Tyler Perry Studios, and the Grammy Museum, among others, all in a bid to spark new ideas and strengthen cross-continental collaboration. In this interview, Dr. Heyman shares insights from the trip, the vision behind DICE, Beyond Limits, and why she believes technology and creativity can drive Africa's future. Here's our conversation. I think it's safe to say welcome back.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
I mean, you just returned from LA for the DICE 2025 Global Immersion. How was that experience for you?
Oh my goodness. It was a great experience. We went to Los Angeles and visited a number of places, businesses, incubators, entrepreneurs, had sessions with investors, professionals, creatives, policymakers in LA and Atlanta. So DICE is an acronym for Digital Innovation and Creative Excellence. And it's a platform that is designed to bring key stakeholders together for knowledge sharing, collaboration, partnerships, and investments. And when we talk about stakeholders, we're talking about, business leaders, startups, investors, policymakers, multilateral organizations, foreign missions as well. Because for us to achieve growth in a sustained and an accelerated fashion, these different stakeholders need to come together. And so with DICE, we have two sets of events. We have mixer events, where we bring people together on specific themes. So in Lagos, for example, we've had 3 mixer events where we talked about the creative space, monetization within the creative space. We've had one where we talked about business expansion, and we've had one that was focused on, co-creating a tech-enabled future. Now, one thing that is common amongst all of them is tech as an underlying enabler for growth across multiple sectors. So the mixers represent one set of activities, and then we have the immersion.
Yes, back to the immersion, right? Because you did have an interesting lineup. I saw that you were at the Microsoft Innovation Center, you were at Amazon, the Grammys Museum, and like mind-blowing places, right? That must have been incredibly inspiring for you. What was the plan, going for the immersion?
Yes, absolutely. So the idea with the immersions, because the world is increasingly connected. We don't live in a bubble, and you can't just stay in your own environment and be immune from what's happening. Anything happening in one part of the world affects business in this part of the world. And so it's important that we foster partnerships and connections and create opportunities for people to interact and also get a sense of the opportunities that exist. And that's what the immersion is about. The whole idea is to take leaders in private sector and in policy from this environment to other ecosystems. And so for this particular immersion to the LA and Atlanta ecosystems, the reason we chose LA and Atlanta was because the immersion was focused on digital innovation and also creativity. And LA, we all know Los Angeles, Hollywood, that's the hub of creativity in the US. And increasingly, Atlanta is becoming the second hub And they also have very strong tech communities. And so during this immersion, we went to some creative studios. We went to the Tyler Perry studio. We went to the Golden Voice. They are the producers of Coachella, which is the largest music festival in the US. We went to the Grammy Museum. That was really fun to just see some of those historic elements. And from a tech side, we went to, Microsoft, the Innovation Lab. We went to Amazon. We saw robots in action. We saw AI, cutting edge technologies in AI. We went to Google and BlackRock. BlackRock is a company that, they manage over $11 trillion in assets. So to just really see how they use technology to manage all these assets and, some of the success stories within the BlackRock community, that was incredible. And another great part of the immersion was, being able to connect with people, right? We had dinners with investors. We had with the diaspora. We have some great members of the diaspora community that are doing really great work out there in tech and in the creative space. We had a dinner in Atlanta with professionals and entrepreneurs. And it was great to have the Minister of Arts, Culture, Tourism, and the Creative Economy, Minister Hannatu Musa Musawa. She was with us on the immersion, and she had various engagements with stakeholders. So we had a roundtable with creatives in Los Angeles, and a lot of those creatives were, from the African diaspora. It was great to hear their feedback and just see some of the great work they're doing. There are some that are have featured in popular shows like Bob Hart's Abishola.
I know that.
Yes. So one of the actors was present at the round table. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, yes. Someone who's worked with Beyonce and a few others that were doing great things. The Africans are very talented and we're doing amazing things around the world. So immersions like this create an opportunity for us to see what's happening out there with our people and for them to get a peep into the opportunities and some of the momentum that we're building here. And of course, beyond the diaspora, we met with other leaders and investors and creatives as well. So that was really interesting.
You did mention the part of the focus was to foster collaboration and global partnerships, right? But aside those, what other conversations do you think we should be prioritizing now in Africa if we're to bring this home?
Yes, absolutely. So I think there's a big space for partnerships, particularly with tried and tested models, right? So I mentioned that we visited the Golden Voice, the producers of Coachella, and the minister was very keen on this. We're trying to promote tourism in the country. We're trying to attract more foreign direct investment. If we can partner with those types of entities, right, that already have the muscle, they've tried and tested, in such large scale productions, then, that can help us to, in some ways, get there faster. So that was great as well. And, seeing cutting edge technology in action in different ways. From energy, we visited a clean tech incubator, to manufacturing. We visited a helicopter company that produces helicopters from scratch. That's Robinson Helicopters. We went through the factory floor. We saw how they took a block of metal and created bolts and nuts out of that. That level of granularity, how they created the propellers, all the wiring, how they brought everything together, And we were in conversation about, how about creating a facility in Nigeria, right? So, by being on ground and meeting these people, it's easier to have conversations and build confidence around the opportunity, right? So that we can actually, create bridges that bring such projects and investments that can just really help us to scale our growth.
That's a lot you've definitely unpacked there for us. But I know you spoke about DICE a little bit earlier, but let's focus on it now. DICE is digital innovation and creative excellence. Now, these are big words that really speak to ambition.
Yes.
What was the plan setting out
with DICE? What were you seeking to achieve through that platform?
Yes. So I'm a big believer in the opportunities and the talent that exists in Africa. I'm very passionate about Africa. I'm passionate about growth and development. For 12 years before this, I was leading Google in West Africa. And as part of that work, we engaged with different parts of the ecosystem to raise the digital game, to try to build the digital ecosystem. When you think about the access landscape, when you think about enabling policies, when you think about creativity, with partnerships on YouTube, or when you think about digital skills, right? So we did a lot of those kinds of projects. And I realized we also launched Google for Startups, which is an accelerator program for early stage startups. And I just really saw the fact that there are lots of opportunities that can be ignited by creating these connections. If I take the startup space as an example, we've produced about 12 unicorns in the last decade in the tech entrepreneurship space. And that's great. But, when you think about a continent of 1.3 billion people, that's a small number. And if you compare it to, I always compare with the ecosystem in the UK, where in the last decade they've produced about almost 200 unicorns. And that's about 60 million people. And so we have a long way to go. But for every unicorn out there, there are a lot of other startups that are doing great work, but they don't have the visibility. They don't have the exposure. They don't have the support or the funding that can really help them get from where they are to the next level. So that's a classic example of a space where bringing people together, stakeholders together around relevant themes can make a difference, so that investors, for example, can meet with these startups and understand the different areas where we're seeing growth, understand the challenges better and the opportunities, and be able to build confidence around investing, creating those kinds of linkages. Tech is a straight enabler. Emerging technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning, Internet of Things, can really help us accelerate growth on the continent, and being able to meet with innovators, see cutting edge technology in action, connect with developers. That's a good way of also facilitating two-way knowledge exchange that creates a win-win opportunity, so that we can really also be at the forefront of setting the pace with technology and making sure that African content is front and center as well in the AI revolution.
You listed a couple of challenges that startups face. We talk about support, funding, and which is part of what you're trying to do with DICE. But in practical terms, you've had experience working with a lot of the startups, especially during your time at Google, and even still what you're doing right now.
Yes.
There are a lot of gaps that need to be plugged. How do you think we can do that?
So, when you think about the startup space, some of the challenges and gaps that need to be plugged, one is access to funding. A lot of them struggle with getting access to funding. Another one is infrastructure, right? Infrastructure that can help them do what they do best, right? From basic, bandwidth, broadband infrastructure, power, and so on. And then mentorship. If you look at other ecosystems around the world, startups really benefited a lot from mentorship. If you look at a lot of the businesses that came out of Silicon Valley, as an example, and you deep dive into the stories of these founders, you'll see that a lot of them actually had mentors to really support them, because the characteristic of a classic startup founder, quite often they're young. Maybe it's their first foray into the workspace, right? Maybe they have competence in a particular area. Maybe it's a tech area, and they've built this great app. The fact that you've built a great app doesn't make you, very competent in managing a CFO or pitching for funds, right? And a lot of other dealing with regulators. So that mentorship and support is really important. And if you look at the ratio of tech hubs, for example, in this environment and other parts of the world, you'll see that there is a gap, right? So we need to provide a lot more infrastructural support, mentorship support, build more communities where startups can really learn from one another, and also provide more, access to funding so that, these startups can really, focus and be empowered to build big businesses that can, create jobs and help to contribute to economic growth.
And that's a great place to end the conversation with you, Dr. Juliet Ehimuan, founder of Beyond Limits and convener of the DICE platform. And well, all the best in your future endeavors. And we look forward, to other DICE immersions.
Thank you.
As Nigeria accelerates its transition to a digital economy, the federal government is stepping up efforts to protect the nation's cyberspace through the first ever National Cybersecurity Conference, themed Building a Resilient Digital Future. Organized by the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITE, the conference aimed to strengthen cyber resilience, boost collaboration, and secure the country's digital economy.
Sharing and collaboration with
the maiden edition of the 2025 National Cybersecurity Conference kicks off on a high note, addressing critical conversations central to shaping Nigeria's digital economy. Organized by the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITE, under the theme Building a Resilient Digital Future, the conference embarks on a bold mission to strengthen the protection of the nation's cyberspace. The Director General of NITE, while stressing the urgency of reinforcing the digital backbone of the country, highlights the importance of strengthening cybersecurity frameworks, securing global partnerships, and investing in trainings and capacity buildings.
Our vision is to make Nigeria a digitally empowered nation, fostering on inclusive economic growth through technological innovation. We are opening this conference to strengthen our national cybersecurity resilience by fostering collaboration between governments, academia, industry, and international organizations. What is resilience? We need to understand cyber resilience, which is different or is more than protection. Protection is about keeping the bad guys away, but resilience is about thinking, anticipating one day the bad guys will get in. When they get in, how can we protect? How can we detect that they are in? How can we deter them away? And how can we respond and make sure business continuity and our services are intact? That is what resilience is all about. And like I said earlier, it's not something we can do in isolation. So we hope this conference will be a platform that will strengthen this kind of collaboration.
Cybersecurity issues have never been more pressing, and so the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission highlights the lingering threats in the cyberspace and outlines the Commission's efforts in tackling them. Meanwhile, the National Security Advisor commends the strides in the country's digital revolution.
The financial ecosystem is particularly vulnerable, not only because of its centrality to the economy, but also due to the high value of its data and assets. In recent years, we have witnessed the following: banking attack due to malware and ransom attacks, increased phishing and social engineering schemes, sophisticated cyber frauds, exploitation of cryptocurrency platform, fake investment applications stealing customers' data, ATM skimming, and SIM swap. These threats, unfortunately, are not entirely new, but attained alarming dimension due to gaps in the Nigeria cybersecurity ecosystem and also financial landscape. Now, it is important for us to make case for resilience, just like the doctor, the DG of NIDA had emphasized. Not just for us to ensure that it's secured or our cyberspace is safe, we must also anticipate the threats and ensure that we move against this. On our part in EFCC, we've been able to optimize to a reasonable extent our resources to deepen Nigeria's cyber resilience. In the last 2 years, we have recorded notable progress in dealing with cyber threats in the economy. Some of the milestones recorded include enhanced capabilities in cyber forensic analysis and syndicate disruption, culminating in significant arrests and convictions in cybercrime cases.
A resilient digital future is not given. It must be built consciously, collectively, and indeed urgently. Nigeria's digital transformation is accelerating. With it comes greater economic opportunity, but also, unfortunately, greater vulnerability. The systems that power banks, healthcare, communications, our schools, everything, and indeed all public services are increasingly targets of cyber attacks. Resilience, therefore, is no longer optional. It is the bedrock of national security and economic stability. Over the past year, we have taken decisive steps to strengthen our cybersecurity position, such as the operationalization of the National Cybersecurity Coordination Center, which is a fully active and coordinated real-time incident response, intelligence sharing, and stakeholder engagement across government and in the, of course, the private sector.
With cyber threats growing more complex, key voices contribute to the conversation.
We understood one thing: criminals collaborate, we don't. And we need to do more of our collaborations, sharing information within the context of what has happened to us and others. Criminals, if you go to the dark web, they're always sharing information, sharing know-how, sharing kits into how to hack or do others. We, unfortunately, do not collaborate as much as we should do. Thank God for NGSAT and what they're doing right now in trying to coordinate, all of us to come together and share information, get alerts so that we protect ourselves across all channels. That, for me, is the critical thing that's missing.
The National Cybersecurity Conference brings together global experts, innovators, and leaders in the cybersecurity space to contribute to conversations that will shape Nigeria's digital future. The AI for Good Global Summit 2025 in Geneva, Switzerland, highlights the latest in artificial intelligence and robotic technology, alongside presentations from global tech leaders to address how AI can be used to advance human progress. With AI innovation growing in speed and scale, the summit reinforces the global commitment to AI governance, skills, and standards. This year's AI Governance Dialogue, organized by the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, with other UN partners from around the world, focuses on charting pathways for responsible and impactful AI.
We are more than the AI generation. We are the generation that is determined, ladies and gentlemen, determined to shape AI for good. So no matter how fast technology moves, let us never stop putting AI at the service of all people and our planet. And let's do this. Let's do this together.
Today, we gather to discuss the promises and perils of artificial intelligence. Geneva once again serves as the ideal setting for shaping responsible progress.
The conversation on maximizing the benefits of AI technologies for human progress continues, with a focus on developing AI skills. Activities include a press conference on Beyond Human, AI Superhumanity, and how AI is enhancing our natural abilities.
What my wish is that that technology that is starting to come is starting to do what we're doing in the prosthetics world and look at the individual and how we can best help them to increase their athletic performance.
There's not any AI in them at all at this point, but AI is very much going to be the next step. And we actually call these myopods. So I've got one on this side in each arm, and it's just these two muscle movements that control the entire hand, from like an open close, from a grasp to a peace sign.
But it's just one man, one technology, one machine, and that's not enough. For us, this project is just a trigger to push people mindset and to challenge all of us to really guarantee that every child has access to education.
The event comes as autonomous and generative systems evolve faster than regulatory frameworks can keep pace. After 4 days of high-level dialogue and urgent calls for inclusive AI governance, the event also showcases progress on AI standards and cutting-edge demonstrations. The AI for Good Global Summit 2025 brings together governments, tech leaders, the academia, civil society, and young people to explore how artificial intelligence can be directed towards sustainable development goals and away from growing risks of inequality, disinformation, and environmental strain.
And that's where we leave it for this week on TechTrends. Thank you for tuning in. You can always relive this and past editions of the program on the Channels TV YouTube page. Make sure to watch, share, and like your favorite episodes. Also remember, technology is not just about the future, it's about the here and now. And Africans are innovating to create impactful solutions for the continent. For TechTrends, I'm Olayemi Oshidende. I'll see you next time.